Alright, let's go through the menu over here. So, when we bring up the menu, we have a couple different options. We have general, systems, modules, timers, and alarms. Let's go back up to general. Over here, we can set the standby. Standby is if you want to do some maintenance on the tank, and you want to shut a couple pumps off, or whatever you want to shut off, your skimmer or whatever. You put the system into standby mode, and for whatever amount of time you want, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 15 seconds, whatever you want to do, and it will shut the pumps off. To show you how you go into standby mode is to you hit back, it'll say standby, you hit enter, and I have it set for 30 minutes, and it's going to start counting down. What my standby mode does, it turns off my 2 corallias over there, and it turns off my skimmer in the sump, so I could do my maintenance. And then usually it takes about a half hour for me to do a water change, and then the timer runs out and everything turns back on. Once standby mode is finished, the pumps turn back on, the skimmer turns back on, and everything goes back to running like normal. And you can set anything that you have hooked up to any PC4s or anything to enter standby mode. If you need to shut any equipment off, turn any equipment on, standby mode does that if you're doing maintenance. That's what I really use it for, is for when I do maintenance. You can set your night mode. If we go back to the general settings, I start night mode at 10:30 and it ends at 7:30 in the morning. Then you hit save, and that sets your night mode. Wavemaker mode is not something that I use. What you have to do to use this mode is have 2 pumps hooked up to channels 1 and 4 of the PC4, and that's something that I don't have any use for. I have the JBJ Ocean Pulse Duo, and that works. It turns on and off with night mode. At night it turns off to simulate calming down, and then turns back on at 7:30 like you just saw. Storm mode is another mode I don't use. Stuff that you can set days of the week when you want your tank to storm. If you want, you put it on a Tuesday, turn it off, and just go through each one. If you want to turn it on Wednesday, whatever, it's up to you. You set when you want the storm to come on, what days of the week, and then you set what time you want it to start and end. So it's a pretty cool feature. But next, let's go to systems. In the system settings, you can adjust the brightness of the display. So you have a day brightness, you can change it. You see how it gets dim. Put it back to 7. That's where I like it. And it's really cool, you have a night brightness as well. So it's not so bright when you're trying to go to sleep at night, or makes it easier on the eyes. So I have mine set to 4 at night. It just dims the screen a little bit. So we'll go back. You can turn the sounds on and off if you don't want the little beeping noises to come on. You set your date and time here, 2011, May 11th. Set your time, then hit save. You can lock the keys, change the units, Fahrenheit or Celsius. This is for if you're going to set up a net control module. If you're going to hook it up to the internet, it tells you information about the head unit itself, what firmware it's using, or you can do a factory reset if you want to erase all your settings. Now, the one thing with the factory reset is that if you do a firmware update of this actual head unit itself, Digital Aquatics said that you have to do a factory reset, otherwise your settings for, let's say, the chiller, if you're setting up any temperature alarms or anything. I know I have my chiller set up to turn on, I think it's at like 78 degrees, and if you don't do a reset, after you do a firmware update of the head unit itself, I don't know, for some reason it turns on at 7.8 degrees, the chiller. So it makes no sense. I don't know why it happens, but to make it 78 degrees, you have to do the factory reset. Okay, let's go on to the next thing. It's the modules. This is another thing that you could customize as well on using the computer software. You could change the name. It says RKL. You could change it. PC4. You could change it. I've actually changed one of them. I think it is, yeah, the stand PC4. That's the PC4 inside my stand, so I know which one I'm working with. Also, another way to tell which module you're working with is that when you select it and you actually look at the unit, there's a little green blinking light right there. That's to tell you that you've selected this unit to work off of. So let's go ahead and see what my options here are. So you can see that I've renamed channel 1 chiller, channel 2 ATO, auto top off, channel 3, this is what it would look like. I haven't changed it. And then channel 4 is the pump for the chiller. And all these are options that you can change once you plug in the system to your computer software that we'll actually take a look at in a few minutes, and we'll see how that works as well. So let's take a look at how I have my chiller set up. I'll hit enter here. The mode is automatic. I want the chiller to turn on automatically. You have off and on as well. We'll go back. Function. Now Digital Aquatics makes this really easy. They have pre-installed a number of different equipment that you could possibly use with this product, and chiller's one of them. And you can see here it's supposed to turn on at 7.8. No, I don't want the chiller to turn on at 7.8. The temperature is never going to reach 7.8. So another way that I've figured out to reset this without doing a factory reset, that you have to go back and set it as something else, like a metal halide light. So we'll just put in something random right now. We'll hit save. We'll go up, back to chiller, and now you can see you have 3 zeros and then a decimal point right there. So now I'm going to reset it so it turns on at 78. Then you hit enter. Default is going to be, what is the chiller going to be on? Is it default? Is it going to be on, or is it going to be off? So it's going to be off because the temperature won't be 78 yet, and I want it to turn on when it goes above 78. So we'll save that. Now the chiller is set. Alarms, I have no alarms programmed yet, and I'll show you what the alarms are in a minute. So we go to auto top off. It's going to have the same options. The way I'm going to set this up, because I don't have it set up yet, is it's going to be automatic as the mode. And right now I just have a circulation pump that turns on and off. So that's why it's set up as light. I'm going to have it set up as on off. And I'm going to program an alarm right here, and I'm going to set the alarm. Now the alarm is going to say once the float switch opens, right here, down in the tank, once the float switch actually opens, it's going to say, it's going to trigger the alarm, and it's going to turn the auto top off pump on. Once the sump fills up enough to close the float switch, it will tell the auto top off pump to turn off. So that's what the alarm is going to do, and I'll show you that in a minute. Channel 3 is just my MacBook power supply, and then the pump, this is probably going to be off too as well. This is the pump for the chiller. The mode's automatic. You can see I have it set as chiller. Oh, this is right. Alright, that's cool. I don't know why the other one was funky, but you can see that I've set this one to turn on at 77.9 degrees. So what this is going to do is going to start pumping water through the chiller before the actual chiller turns on, so that way the temperature probe inside the actual chiller itself will get used to the temperature of the water, so that way when it does turn on at 78 degrees, it will know what the temperature of the water is at already. Alright, so we'll go back, and it's just telling you how many amps it uses right there. SO1, there's not much to program here. There's actually nothing to program here. Just telling you what's on it. It's got the switch A, which is the float switch. I'm sure I could rename that as well. Switch B, I don't have one. Temperature error, we already talked about that. There's no temperature probe hooked up to the SO1. And the pH that I have hooked up is telling me that it's 7.93. And I don't have an O or P probe. So we'll go back up. Stamp PC4. Now this, I'll just go through what I relabeled everything as. You can see I have the HQI fan, the fan for the light. I have the skimmer on this one, my JBJ Ocean Pulse Duo, and my fan that I have at the top right there. Everything's on and is drawing about 0.4 amps. Alright. Now let's talk about, you can set different timers here. I don't really use this function yet. I mean, you could set it for different days of the week. We'll go through that real fast. Let's say you want it to turn on Saturday, and then you set what time you want it to turn on, how long you want it to turn on for, and then the duration that you want it to be off for. Okay, so we'll just go back. You can set a whole bunch of different timers. This is good for the multi-timer function. I'll show you what that is real quick. Modules, PC4. If you want, there's a function called multi-timer down here, right here. Multi-timer, and that's what you would use the timers for if you want to turn something on and off a bunch of times or something like that. We'll quickly go through all the different functions because I forgot to go through that. You have a switch function, advanced light, multi-timer, controller, pump, Wavemaker function, skimmer function, lunar light, other type of light, metal halide lights, a fan, a chiller, heater, and the on-off function. All these functions are very useful for when you set up your equipment. It helps to keep everything fail-safe, so I really like this system. Let's go back to let's go to the alarms, because this is what I have programmed over here. You can set a whole bunch of different alarms here. My first alarm here, I don't have anything here. What this is for is if you want, when an alarm is triggered, you can set it to flash. The screen will actually flash when the alarm is triggered. I don't want it to do that. You can set it to beep. That's what the B is for. If the alarm triggers, the unit starts beeping. Or you could have it email you. If you have your net module hooked up, it will send you an email alert so you can know what's going on with the tank. So I don't have a net module, so we're going to go past that. The device I have set. The device is my switch A, that's my float switch. So we'll select that. I want it to trip when the switch opens. When it's closed, that means that there's enough water. When the switch opens, that means the tank needs more water. So when the switch opens, I want it to trigger, and I'm going to save it. Alright, so you can set a whole bunch of different more alarms here. If you want, you can set an alarm that for when the temperature gets too hot. You could tell it to turn a fan on or something. It's really up to you how you customize it. Using that alarm I set, we'll go quickly back to the PC4 to auto top off, and when it's going to be function, it's going to be on off. You either want the auto top off to be on or off, and then the alarm is going to be set to number 1. Number 1 is the float switch, and that will automatically add water to the tank. Okay. What else? This is really cool right here. If you hit enter, it'll tell you what the pH is peaked at, what the low was, and what's the average pH. The same works for the temperature. Right here, if you hit enter, it tells you the average temperature, what your high was, what your low was. So my temperature's been pretty stable, it hasn't fluctuated that much. And the average right there. We'll go back. Alright, I'm kind of running out of room here on my memory card, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this video to my computer, and then I'll take you over to the computer software and I'll show you how to work with that, so I'll be right back.